Today we're going to look at the Elegoo Mars. Now I'm hoping to open up this box and actually find an Elegoo Mars Pro, which became available on Friday. I think about 2 hours later, I think they had a restock, so I was able to get one of the restocks. And then by the end of Friday, they were all sold out, and we're not sure when they're going to be back in stock because, of course, Elegoo are out on lunar holiday plus the virus till the 10th, I want to say. So let's get this box out and have a look at it. So as you can see, the box is the same. I've got a tick next to Elegoo Mars Pro, so it's looking good. This is a resin SLA or MSLA printer, which can print at, I think, 0.01 of a millimeter, whereas the best resolution you can realistically get from a CR10 is like 0.8. Maybe you could push it a bit higher if you're really lucky. So I'm tipping out the box. You get a load of packaging, keeping this nice and safe with the red UV screen, a nice little manual and a toolkit. I'm pleased to see in the toolkit we actually get a metal scraper as well as the plastic scraper, which is not so useful, to be honest. We've got a power cable with a UK plug, a little measuring jar with some gloves, a USB stick, a hex screwdriver, some snips, a little widget to help your tray drip, so you pop this on the printer and allow the resin to drip off, some more hexes and screws, etc. This looks like the power supply unit. We've got a seal for the case, we've got some filters, gas masks, and what's this? Oh, a fancy membership card type thing, so I'll have to have a look at what that is. So inside we've got packaging list, the specs of the printer, layer thickness, there you go, goes all the way down to 0.01 of a millimeter, which is way better than any FDM printer. Dimensions, weight, how to use it, unboxing it, etc. Doing a test print. G2 box, which is the slicer of choice for resin printers, it seems. FAQ. Yeah, not a bad little manual. And of course the great joy of this is it's ready to go pretty much. I just need to get it out of this packaging. Okay, this sort of shrink wrap stuff is going to take me a while to get off, so let's get this peeled off. Okay, I managed to peel off the shrink wrap stuff, so we've now got more foam packing stuff, so that's good. And we've also got this bit of film to peel off. Now I have heard you might have to sometimes slightly unscrew this screen to get this off cleanly, so let's have a fiddle with that. Well, I'm pleased to say I didn't need to unscrew it, it just came off nice and clean. And you'll notice, I know this is a Pro because it's got a P, but it's also got the USB at the front, which in some ways is quite good. At the front means it's easier to get access to, but my concern is, you know, you might drip resin off the front where you wouldn't drip resin off the back. Maybe this would have been better on the side. Who can tell? We'll see as we get using it. Build plate. Yeah, this build plate is definitely an upgrade from the standard one. You've got nice chunky screws, and of course you've got this, what I think they call CD pattern to give you more grip, and of course it's got more protective film, so we can just peel that off, as you see, nice and shiny. So here is the new tray, which I don't know, hopefully is an improvement over the original. It does have a little pour spout here, and as you can see there's a bit of film there, so I believe there is some protective sheeting on what's known as the FEP, so you do actually need to peel that off before you print. So flipping the tray over, it does talk about peeling off. These are the tensioning bolts to get your sort of FEP with a nice tension going. We've got the LED screen here, which I'm going to have to test. And one of the other improvements for the Pro model is we've got this linear rail plus a sort of carbon filter here. So I'm going to need to get some alcohol on this screen, just give it a nice clean, and then I guess we're ready to plug in. As part of the setup, we loosen off these screws, and that allows us to level the bed. And then this just slides on here. I believe we slip a little bit of paper underneath, obviously tighten down the nut. And then when you've got it all nice and level, tighten these bolts back up and you're good to go. So, following the manual, bit of paper underneath, about to do the level test. Okay, so let's get it turned on. And there you go, Mars Pro Elegoo. And we're good to go. And there's the cat fan kicking in. It's not too bad. You can hear it over my CR10 printing in the background, but I'm right next to it and it doesn't actually sound too bad relative to the CR10. So if you're used to 3D printers, this is pretty quiet. Potentially, when this is a bit older, could open it up, fit a Noctua maybe, quieten it down a bit. But yeah, not too bad. Okay, so this is a touch screen, so I believe we press Tool, then we go to Manual, then we want to click on 0.01 and we just want to raise slightly because this paper is absolutely locked in place. Let's go to 1mm actually, let's raise it. There you go, so got a bit more movement. Let's go back. Let's go back to 0.01. Let's move it down a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, a bit more I think. Okay, so after a bit of fiddling, I can move this, but if I move it down 0.1, it's absolutely locked in place. So I think I'm about there. So following the instructions, we need to set 0, which we do on the screen. So we go back and set 0. Are you sure you wish to reset? Well, yes we do. What's very impressive is when you're raising the Z-rail, it's really, really quiet. You can't hear it, unlike with the CR10. So as you can see, it's pretty much at the top, and it goes up reasonably quickly and very, very quietly. So the next step is to test the exposure. So we can set the exposure time. That's going to be way more than we need. Sadly, you know, it takes quite a while to adjust. I don't really want to be looking at this. This is UV light, so let's go next. Starting the exposure, and we should have, there you go. That's looking pretty good. Yeah. So I think we've got a working screen. So let's cancel that, stop, yeah, all good. And then we're back to this screen here. So the next step's going to be to get this sort of rubber seal on the base of this over here. So this is a little bit fiddly, but we just put this on and we're all good to go. Now one of the setup trips from the Elegoo Mars was to put a little bit of masking tape just on the edge here, just to slightly lift your tray, and apparently that's meant to help with bed adhesion and printing and not damaging your screen, which is quite irritating. Now when it comes time to print, I'm going to use ABS-like photopolymer. Comes in various colours. I've gone with grey and gone for a kilogram tub. So I need to give that a shake, and then I'm going to leave it to settle for a bit. And then I've got to set up my sort of printing station, because the problem with resin printers, unlike FDM printers, they use this horrible resin which you don't want to get on your skin, in your eye, you don't want to drink it, you don't want to spill it, and it's a real nightmare. And you've got to clean off your prints, so there's a lot more involved with the resin printer, but the results should speak for themselves. So this is about my third pair of snips. I'm going to leave these exclusively for resin, so I don't muck up my FDM stuff, and I don't want to be picking this up without gloves on and accidentally get resin on my skin. And over time, small dosages will potentially make you become allergic to the resin, and that's really not good for you. So we've got this rather cool card, which gives you some discount on my mini factory, I believe. So I've got my tape, just need to put my tray in. So that's my tray ready to go, just need to pour in the resin and we're off. But before we do that, as I said, I want to get my printing station set up, and that's going to involve a whole load of other stuff. So first things first, I bought extra gloves. You can almost never have enough gloves. Make sure they're nitrile, not latex. Well, for a start, you might be allergic to latex. And secondly, resin, I believe, eats through latex anyway. I bought myself a nice big scraper rather than the small one that comes free with the thing. Pickle jars, you can get any variety. I've got 2 to rinse my prints with, and then some isopropyl alcohol, which is pretty nasty stuff in and of itself anyway. You're also going to want some of these strainers. Now I'm tempted to strain my resin into my tank using this to just catch any bits, but you're definitely going to want to use it when you're pouring stuff back into your jar. And I need to find a funnel. I thought I'd ordered one, but I can't find it, so I'm going to need to find a funnel, so when I come to pour this back into the vat, at least I've got a way of doing it without it all spilling out the edge, because a lot of people, they stick this into the vat and then it all pours out and it just makes a mess and you've got resin everywhere, which is not good. Now, as a safety measure, I want to mark these as being for resin. I don't want people trying to pickle their food with stuff that's had horrible toxic resin in. So get yourself a permanent marker and write on it, safety first, especially with resin. Really nasty stuff. I think some people go on and on a bit too much about how dangerous resin is, but don't take a chance. It's your life, your health. So just extra caution, clean up after yourself and make sure you've got lots of gloves. Call me paranoid, but hopefully that's going to give people the message. Well, there you go, I've pretty much got it all done. I've actually taken off my gloves and got my resin pouch stored away. I sort of used a trick I know where you can put a glove inside another glove to minimise touch and everything, but yeah, this resin stuff gets everywhere. Looks like I've actually missed a bit, so I'm going to have to tidy that up. So the other essential thing you're going to need is kitchen roll. Okay, now we're ready to print. There is a slight problem, is I haven't loaded any fresh files on here. So yeah, I'm going to have to try the Rook, and apparently that doesn't always work very well. So let's go into the Rook and let's go for the compact slicer. So there's a little preview. Go. Fingers crossed. Estimated time? No idea. We'll see. Anyway, getting this on is quite tricky. I'm not sure I've actually got it seated quite right. But you do need this. This stops the resin curing because it cures in UV light. And the big problem is, you can see, look, there it goes into the tank. I can't see anything. I did slightly underfill this. I didn't want to risk a flood of resin on my first go. And there you go, 3 hours. So see you in about 3 hours. Now, one thing I will mention while we're here is you can actually change these settings in Chitubox. Now, I believe a lot of people are recommending an 8-second per layer exposure time with this particular resin, but for your first, I think, 8 layers, they recommend a much higher, sort of like 200 plus seconds. It's some immense amount of time. Maybe it's 80 seconds. I'm going to need to look it up on my my PC, but yeah. Basically, as you can see, you've got a preview of what it's doing, and it will keep doing that, and eventually the build platform will lift up. We might hear a pop, and then it will lower back down. There you go, it's just lifted and gone back down by the looks of it. And when it's done that over and over again, eventually it will be high enough that you can actually see. So unlike an FDM that prints from the ground up, this prints from the top down. So as this lifts up, the model will slowly sort of emerge downwards like this, so to speak. So yeah, very different, much quieter. You can probably hear my CR10 in the background print like mad. It's actually printing a spool holder. So yeah, we'll see. So the idea is miniatures on this, big bulky scenery on the printer. We'll see how that works out. Well, we are restarting the print because I'm not sure the bed was quite level. So yeah, a bit of a mess everywhere, trying to tidy up, but now we're getting that nice popping noise. So hopefully that means we've got it all sorted now. After my first failed attempt due to Z-height issues, looks like I'm going, and you might just about manage to see the 2 towers in there. And we are done. As you can see, 2 complete rooks. Well, I've finished rinsing it in the alcohol, now it's in water. And just to follow the herd, time for a bit of Baby Yoda. Well, here we are the following morning. As you can see, I've got 2 completed rooks and a Baby Yoda, although I did unfortunately snap his ear getting the supports off. You can also see the 2 failed rooks there, just the little discs. And I've currently got some Fat Dragon games printing, and they're going to be ready in about 8 hours. So yeah, some skeletons from Fat Dragon games. So yeah, very happy right now. Well, here we have my Fat Dragon skeletons all printed. I've got some chests for fantasy games. I believe these are actually Massive Darkness proxies. And then of course you've seen them already, the prints. Now one of the things that is a slight problem, I've snapped the ear off my Yoda, but also there's loads of pimples. So when it comes to 3D printing, obviously resin, when you got your workflows set up, when you've worked out how to, you know, support your models and remove the models, you're going to end up with fantastic prints. I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to show up in this camera, but look at the quality on that Yoda. I mean, it is absolutely stunning. That could be a high quality plastic miniature from like Games Workshop or something like that. These chess pieces, amazing detail. So yeah, there's a lot of effort. There is some issues over the toxicity of the resin, the mess, the fact it gets everywhere, but the end results are just absolutely stunning. So yeah, as I said earlier, I'm very happy with what I'm getting out of my Elegoo Mars, and I think the Pro is worth it. It doesn't cost much more than the regular version, and you get the advantage of the seal, the carbon filter, and the improved linear rail. The only downside is it uses a new file format called CTP, which means some tools that you can use to help you with checking your supports and everything don't work. So what I've done is, I believe this Yoda was actually supported in the Prusa slicer, then exported as an STL with supports to then be brought into Chitubox. So the workflow is more of a problem compared to FDM, but yeah, the results speak for themselves. So let's just leave you with a final shot on those, and until the next video, happy printing.